You're watching Service Drive, exclusively on CBT News.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me. Another edition of Service Drive right here at CBT Automotive Network. How do you build loyalty that keeps over 70% of your service customers returning? Yes, I said 70, not 7. 70, okay? Joining us once again is Tully Williams, who's the Fixed Operations Director at Niello Company, to join us to tell us how he is achieving, I'm very suspect of this whole situation, of over 70% retention. So Tully, thank you so much for joining us once again on the show. I appreciate you breaking away from Ted Ings and the Fixed Ops Roundtable and joining us here at, humble little CBT News. So you do a great job. So does Ted. We love him. But so tell us, oh great one, how does a company achieve over 70%? As you know, there's a lot of fixed ops directors, many, not many, but some of which worked for me when I was running stores, that would come in and brag about a 35% or 40% retention rate while you're knocking the cover off the ball with 70. So what's the secret to doing that? And I know it's a very loaded question. Take all the time you need.
Thank you, sir. So thank you very much for this visit. So it was a team effort, and you have to stand behind that, and they need to know the why. Now, I just want to clarify, our retention number is done by myself. I don't rely on manufacturers and all their shenanigans. I look at if a visit has come in 14 months, and I said, yeah, Tully, 14 months. But, maintenance has changed. Jag Land Rover is at 18 months, and most every store we have is at 12 months, which means cars come in at 13. I just want to set that straight. But think about what a fixed ops department is. The car is sold, right? And then the car is going to come into service for its warranty and maintenance repairs. And if we have everybody in our service department thinking about retention, thinking about repeat and referral, and that's what I talk about at our stores, not retention, but repeat and referral, is that then that drives that customer to stay in our family and buy their next car, and their friends buy their next car from us. And we have to have that mentality from the porter to the detailer to the technician, and of course to the service writer and our managers. One is that we also have to sell F&I products that work because they also help drive retention. So when we look at our VSC coverage, we're in the high 60s. Of course, I would love to be 100, but high 60s is a good number because everybody supports that. And two is that CSI is a staple. I call CSI stands for Customer Supplies Income, but really CSI is a name that we talk about where if you have bad CSI over a period of time, we're probably not going to work for the Niello Company. We're going to do everything in our power to fix that problem because we need to know what is the issue. And of course, most of it is called communication.
Right.
But let's get back to what drives retention. Drive retention is not just because they love their service writer, which I think is a big deal, but we also have to believe that we are in the business to sell things that drive retention. Charging people $4 trillion for a brake job does not drive retention. So when we look at our brakes, batteries, tires, and maintenance, we want to sell 70% at least of those items. And I call that same day selling, which is same visit selling.
Okay.
If we have a red brake, I want to sell that red brake. And we struggle getting into 70 at times, but we have very aggressive pricing. So when you look at your pricing, take away gross right now, I'm talking about retention.
Okay.
Sorry, general managers.
Okay.
But think about this, is that do we want to lose a brake sale to somebody else? And the answer is no.
No, because then therefore you're going to leave, that customer's going to leave you and not come back, right?
And they only come back for the bad things. And of course, you're the bad dealer that charged me $4 trillion for a sensor.
That's right.
And then two is that we want to make sure that we're selling every red tire. And we do aggressive. We have a buy 3, get 1 free at the Niello Company, not a manufactured sponsored event. Okay. My controller does hate to see a negative growth sometimes in tire sales, but you know what? It makes me proud because I know that we have sold up to 70 to 80% of all of our red tires.
Yeah.
And the same with batteries. Batteries are very expensive. Are we selling batteries? The answer is you need to sell batteries, even if you have to sell it at a loss. They can't go somewhere else.
Right.
So when you look at that retention, are you selling those big 4 items and aggressively and asking the whys that they're not buying?
Yeah. Very, very, very good point. So what you're saying is that we in the franchise new car business actually push those customers out the door by not adhering to some of these rules that you just talked about, right?
Correct. And if you look at tires are a great example. Nobody makes money on tires. I'm sorry.
No,
I
no,
lose money on tires, but I sell 60 to 70% of my red tires. I don't care about the number. I care about the red events.
Yeah.
And we need to know why. Because if they go to Costco's or they go to tire shops, what are they going to say? Oh, that big bad dealer over there is taking advantage of you.
That's
Come
right.
to me forever. And we lose that customer and the repeat business and referral business, which is so important.
That's right.
Now they go to their customer and their friends and family and say, yeah, I go to the Neillos, and guess what? They take great care of me. I got one tire for free, or my pads were free in the labor. They're going to get that retention. Oh, maybe I'll buy my next car and service my car at the Niello Company. And that's the reason I think our retention number stays high.
Let me ask you this. While somebody is in your waiting lounge and maybe they've got their laptop open usually, or they're sitting there on their phone, and do they ever do price comparison? And if they do you live up to if they turn around and say, well, I know I need tires, but Costco or Pet Boys or whatever just said they're this much. Did you ever say, hey, we can match that? Or walk me through that. Does that happen?
100%. It does. But when you're buying 3 and getting 1 free, we will beat most any price off the top. The only reason that the price would be lower is that it's a lower quality tire. We have to explain that. Yeah. Right? Okay. And I'll sell them a lower quality tire, but we want to sell what the tire came on the car or the rating of that car. And, a lot of times, not saying it happens, but, sometimes they'll sell a tire that really doesn't design for that automobile. Sure. And as a car dealer, we got to make sure that. But we'll explain that too. Brakes, great example. One is that we are selling OEM brake pads, so there's a premium to that. But if someone says, hey, the guy down the street's doing it for $50 less, if I catch a service manager saying, go there, I'm just going to explode, because why would I let that person leave?
Like you wouldn't want to buy a service customer for $50, if you had the opportunity, right?
Because I love competitors' coupons. They're doing their marketing for me. Yeah. I love it. So I think that you have to have the mindset. And that's a mindset that a lot of people don't have, because gross. Hours per row. Rip heads off.
So let me ask you this. Some of the things that you just covered, this really is all about building the right culture within the store to focus on CSI, to focus on a retention that's greater than 50%, and such. So on behalf of my viewers, they want to know, what is the key? Is it major number of meetings that you have? How do you get all of your team members reading off of that sheet of music that says it's all about CSI, it's all about retaining that customer to come in, we're going to make those fundamental changes or those basic changes in pricing, we're going to sell tires even if it's at a loss sometimes to do that? But what goes into that? How do you get everybody thinking the same way?
So that's not easy.
Right.
So I mean, it didn't happen overnight. So, I'm not going to say that I just walked in here and it was all done. Yeah. But I think that the mentality is that everybody, I think, has been taught all their life is gross, hours per row, rip heads off. That's right. And we all know that is the worst thing you can do for retention. Yeah. And so when I started here, one is I switched to hours instead of gross per hour. So I want to sell the capacity of our shops. That's what I focus on. So that was my first focus. CSI at the Niello Company was still strong. But then I switched it to where, what business are we truly in? And the business that we are in is repeat and referral business. Right. At a car dealership, we sell 4 things. We sell hours, the most important. We sell parts, we sell F&I products, and we sell cars. That's what we sell, but we are truly in the repeat and referral. So now when I got the structure together, when we can monitor it, of course, I believe that being transparent is 100%. So everybody knows where they are on a daily basis.
Right. Let me just interject one question here, because I know that they're probably saying, Jim, ask this question. So you've got, when you land there, okay, at Niello Company, and you come up with this concept and say, here's what we're going to do moving forward, you really need the dealer principal to go, hey man, I'm on board with you, because the dealer principal or the GM, they too have come from that same mindset, right? Correct. Of hours and labor and parts, and we're going to gross them. So it really takes a whole mindset shift from the top down. Otherwise, you're going to be, constantly battling the GM or the dealer principal, because they're going to be going, hey man, this isn't what we've been used to, right?
Correct. And I tell you, you just open up old pay plans. They're a book. The guy doesn't even know how he gets paid, or gal doesn't know how he gets paid.
Yeah.
So first is that a great question. I would not come to work here unless Mr. Neillo said I'm on board.
Okay.
Here's the deal. When I did the interview, when I came up here, I came up for lunch one time and talked to him about it, and then of course, I start rambling. But I said, this is the way we do it here, and if you're interested in me helping you go to the next level, I am not into gross. I'm not into hours per row. And I explained to him what we sell every day, right? And he understood that we are selling capacity. Good thing about Rick is he's been around forever. He knows that tires are super important. So
right.
I think I was touching on items that made sense to him.
Yeah. So
and
you
then
had
the
that
next thing
buy-in.
is,
That's so important.
Yeah, 100%. The next thing is I got to get the buy-in by the GMs. As long as I have the dealer principal, I'm good.
That's right.
And that's sometimes not easy because they're super grocers. So that was a process for me to do for the next couple of years to get everybody confident that I know what I'm doing.
That's right.
In the long term, you will make more money for you and your family. But the goal is to drive more people stay in the store, because we were probably more in the 50s when I got here, right? Which is not bad.
No.
Especially when I found out that the average store is under 40. I think, oh my God. The concept to me is not there.
Yeah.
So the goal is going to be is that we talk about repeat and referral business. If a customer's upset, what would you do if it was your family member?
Right.
And we also sell items that we'd sell our family members. That's what I talk about every day. We're not going to sell things that we would not sell our family members. And of course, we are doing inspections on every car. Pay the technician to do it. We have pictures and video of all the reds. We're transparent on everything. So, and our goal is that we want the customer to actually look at them, and we monitor that. So our Porsche stores, for example, they look at them over 100%. That means they're looking at the video twice.
Wow.
I think that's great, because that shows that they're actually interested and they're looking at them, right?
That's right.
So our goal is we measure these items, and I call our driveway processes, we are very good at. X-Time loves me for that, because I'm at 99% check-in, inspection, video, and quote sent, and we're about 90%-ish on views. And to me, that is our next hurdle, is how do we get to 100 or above 95%? Okay. Because I believe that we're going to have that concept where the Neillos are not taking advantage of me. I want them to look at the video, and I want them to look at those pictures, so they understand that they do need brakes, or they need tires, or whatever's broken.
Sure. Yeah, and that's really the key. But you've built such an incredible culture within the group there that everybody is reading off the same sheet of music, because you're really talking about restructuring the whole way these technicians and service drive personnel have thought about service and making profits in a service department. So kudos to you. But I think it does take that. You've got to reprogram everybody to say, look, this is what we're going to focus on, and you've done that successfully.
And I think too is that when you look at a store, if the store is focused on gross, the technician's going, what does that mean? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
All they care about is that, how do I make my 8 hours? Our technicians are, how do I make my 12 hours a day?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're so focused on hours, guess what happens? We have parts runners. We have parts people in the shop. Our parts counter people are paid on the hours forecast. What a concept, right?
Yeah.
Our focus is, how do we get the job fast and done and more efficient for our technicians? Our technicians, I want them rich and tired every day. I want them to work 8 hours and make 12. But I have to make sure the process is there, which starts with the service manager, the service advisors, the parts people, the porters. Everybody has to be on board to drive those hour sales, because if you're going to sell brakes and tires, it has to be done that day. It can't be, well, we'll get to it tomorrow or the next day. I'll give you a loaner. No.
Well, that is great. I mean, to be thinking about even close to 70%, but you're up over 70. You mentioned, I think before we got recording, that you've got some stores up over 74%. So folks that are listening, yes, it can be done. And the Neillo Group is actually doing it, led by Tully Williams. So again, Tully, thank you so much for joining us. I've got about 7 more questions here, but time won't allow me to ask. So we're definitely going to be doing a follow-up here, because I know that you've opened up the eyes of a lot of dealers, GMs, and fixed ops directors to say, look, it can be done. He's doing it. So as I said, thank you so much. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Service Drive, exclusively on CBT News.